In this lesson, we are going to rewrite expressions once again. This time it's going to involve multiplication using something called the distributive property. Rather than explain this to you, I'm just going to show you how to rewrite expressions, like each of these, using this property. So if we look at this first one, it says 3 times 4 plus 2. If you want, you could rewrite that as 3 times 6. Like in the second one, you can rewrite 5 times 6 plus 1 as 5 times 7. And on this third one, you could rewrite 2 times 7 minus 3 as 2 times 4. All we did was simplify this inside of the parentheses, like we would if we were doing order of operations. So, but you could also write this as 3 times 4 plus 2. So you could also rewrite 3 times 4 plus 2 as 3 times 4 plus 3 times 2. So in this one, you could, instead of writing 5 times 6 plus 1, you could write it as 5 times 6 plus 5 times 1. Now, what happens here? So instead of 2 times 7 minus 3, you could write it as 2 times 7 plus 2 times. Instead of 3, you're going to write negative 3, because remember that 3 has a negative value. Now, you could have, instead of writing 3 times 4 plus 3 times 2, you could have also just written that as 3 times 4 is 12 plus 3 times 2 is 6, so plus 6. These are all different ways of writing 3 times 4 plus 2. So instead of writing 5 times 6 plus 1, you could have written 5 times 6, which is 30, plus 5 times 1, which is 5. On this next one, instead of writing 2 times 7 minus 3, you could have just written 2 times 7, which is 14, minus 2 times 3, which is 6. But let's back up there. So 2 times 7 is 14. Instead of 2 times 3, you would do 2 times negative 3. A positive times a negative is a negative, so minus 6. So you can always check that here, because a positive times a negative gives you a negative 6, so minus 6. Let's try this more times. What happens if you have 2 times negative 4 minus 1? Well, you could just do the inside first. So 2 times negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. But you could have also written it as 2 times negative 4. And then plus 2 times negative 1. But you could have just written 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. And you could have just written 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2, so minus 2. That should align here. So positive is negative, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Okay. So instead of negative 4 times 5 minus 3, you could write negative 4 times 2. And instead of negative 4 times 5 minus 3, you could write negative 4 times 5. Now usually we put a plus here, but this 4 is a negative. So when I do negative 4 times negative 3, I'm going to write minus 4 times negative 3. I'm going to show you what I mean. So this 2 was a positive. So it's actually a plus 2 here and a plus 2 here. This 3 was a positive, so it was actually positive 3 here and positive 3 here. This 5 was a positive, so it was actually positive 5 here times 6 and positive 5 times 1 here. This 4 was a negative, so it was negative 4 times 5. It was negative, so minus 4 times negative 3. So, but instead of writing that, I could do negative times a positive, which is negative 20. Negative times a negative, which is a positive 12. I can check here. That gives me negative 20, and that gives me positive 12. So instead of negative 5 times negative 2 plus 4, I could write negative 5 times 4 minus 2, which is 2 positives. Now I could write negative 5 times negative 2. Remember that 5 is a negative, so I'm going to write minus 5 times positive 4. Because that 4 is positive. So, but instead of writing all that, I could have actually just written negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10. And a negative 5 times a positive 4 is a negative. So negative times a positive is a negative. 5 times 4 is 20. I can check that. Negative times negative is a positive, and negative times a positive is a negative. All right, good. Let's go to the second part. So this time I'm going to give you a random version of this expression, and you are going to give me the rest. So 2 times 10, I could have gotten that from 2 times 6 plus 4. I could have also gotten it from 2 times 7 plus 3, or 2 times 5 plus 5, or 2 times 9 plus 1. It doesn't matter. So I can rewrite that as 2 times 6, and then that's positive 2. So plus 2 times positive 4, which I could have, of course, written it as 12 plus 8 instead. 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so in this one, so 4 times 2 plus 4 times negative 1 really means it was a positive 4 times 2 minus 1, which I could have written as 4 times 2 minus 1 is 1. And I could have also just written this as 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 positive times a negative is a negative. 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, what if I give you this last version? 10 plus 2. Now this one's going to be a little tricky. I need to find a number that can go into 10 and 12, which is 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 12. So I'm going to pull out a 2. 2 times what is 10? 2 times 5 is 10. And that's positive 2. 2 times what is 12? 2 times 6 is 12. So it's not so bad right now. This is really 2 times 5 plus 6, which is really 2 times 11. Alright, so let's go ahead and do some with negatives. More negatives, I guess. So 3 times negative 8 plus 3 times negative 2. The easiest one's probably like right here, but we'll come back to it. So 3 times negative 8 and then minus 2, which I can rewrite as 3 times negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. Negative 10. But I could have also just written it as 3 times positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 8 is 24. A positive times a negative is a negative. 3 times 2 is 6. Oof, almost messed that up. Okay. What about this? So what number can I pull out? I can pull out a 2. I can also pull out a 4. I just want to pull out a 4 because it's different this time. So a 4. 4 times what is negative 4? Negative 1. And that's positive 4, so positive 4. 4 times what is 12? 3. Cool. Good. And I could have written that as 4 times negative 1 plus 3, because it's positive 3. And I could have written that as 4 times 2. Okay, our last one. We have a negative 12 and then 15. So 3 goes in here. But let's say you want to take out a negative 3, because you can always take out a negative 3. A negative times a what is a negative? A negative times a positive. So 3 times 4 is negative 12. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. This 3 is a negative, so I can put minus 3 here. A negative times what is a negative? Negative times a positive, so positive 5. Then I go up here, because this is the next easiest step. Negative 3 times 4 plus 5, because it's positive 5. And lastly, we can write negative 3 times 9. That's it. Take your time. Make sure you know, everything's good. Thank you.